Okay, good morning, everybody. So let me just wait till people get back. So Ramnath, did I answer your question completely?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, so let's just wait for a few minutes, at least till 11:30, and then we will start. Meanwhile, if you have any trouble in the project or anything, you can let me know any concerns. So how are you finding the course, the this Poisson process, and then by Bernoulli process? So I made my own versions of those videos. So one more video is pending, but any case, this week the quiz is not based on that, so it's not so urgent. But I will make the other one also. But in general, what's the feeling? What's the class thinking about these courses, these topics? Somebody has anything to say? Okay, so it's 11:30. So let me just begin. I don't know what I'm saying. All right. So, uh, okay, I hope the class strength improves, but right now it's quite low. So, are you able to see my screen? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes,
So,
sir.
yeah. So let's begin today's class.
Yes.
So, we are going to talk about basically the topic called as conditional probability and conditional expectation. Okay. So this topic is actually quite important, but Sitsikilis only has one video on this. This video is called iterated expectation. Expectation. Alright, so that's what it's called. However, we will talk about it a bit more than what Sitsikilis has done. So we will be following for this particular portion. I will be following Sheldon Ross, this Introduction to Probability Models, right? That book. And this is going to be chapter 3. So I urge you all, after this class, after tomorrow's class, go through uh, the the chapter 3 from Sheldon Ross, and you will see many more examples. But what I will be doing in the class is I will also go through the same flow that is there in the chapter 3. So there was two choice for me: either I leave it to you to read, or just myself go through it once with you. Okay, so I chose that we will just go through it once, so that you get some kind of a headway into the topic. Okay, so I will finish most of important things that are there in this chapter, but you have to see other things that are there which are in your syllabus. Okay, so they talk about things like t distribution, which is not in your syllabus, but whatever I have taught in the class related to that, if you find a topic which you think you can follow, please read it. Okay, so this particular topic is very useful. Okay, it's very useful in real life application. So is Poisson process, by the way. So if you ever go to companies which are looking after customer traffic, right? So they are typically modeled as Poisson. So all your decisions that you make, whether to buy new things, new infrastructure, new servers, all of this depend upon what type of customers you are getting, and that customer arrival is going to be a forecast. You can never predict. Okay, for instance, a long time back, when Flipkart announced, many years back, I don't know when, but a few years back when Flipkart started its this big billion day or something it used to call, there used to be so huge traffic that Flipkart website itself went down, because they haven't estimated the traffic that is going to come in, and their servers were simply not able to handle it. So there are many applications for these topics. So unfortunately, because of the breadth of the course, there are so many things that we have to talk. We cannot go much into the applications. All right. So I will try to give you some flavor of it by giving you some small assignments so that you get some hang of it. But yeah, in general, these things have to wait till your future courses. All right. So coming to the topic. So recap. So what we have. So if you remember long time back when we talk about conditional probability, it was defined something like this, right? So when we are talking about events, probability of E given F was probability of E and F divided by P of F. So this was the long back, the definition of this. Now what we are going to do is look at basically conditional PMF, and we are going to look at conditional PDF. So these are things that you have already seen. We have done exercises around it, but we will just like systematically again recollect all of these things. Okay, so the first thing is conditional PMF. So if you remember from the lectures that you have been watching and from what I have been teaching you, so if you remember, there we had defined an object like this, right? So for example, this could be Px given y of 2, 3, suppose something like this. So what is the meaning? So this means, this is actually defined as, so this is the defined as probability that the x random variable takes the value small x, and the y random variable takes, given the y random variable takes the value small y, which is also in the example. Suppose if you look at an example of these things, what will that be? So this is again probability that x is equal to 2 given the random variable y is equal to 3. Okay, so it's exactly like this. So why I gave you this example is you might get confused seeing capital X, small y, capital Y. So typically the capital letters are reserved for the random variables itself, just calling what the random variable is. The small x and small y are values. Okay. So now coming back to this one, so that is equal to this particular entity is equal to, this is again the definition of conditional probability. So this is probability that x is equal to x and y is equal to y divided by probability of y equal to y. Okay, so I hope this idea is easy to follow. So now we know that there is something called as a joint PMF. So using a joint PMF idea, so this is P x comma y of xy divided by Py of small y. Okay, so this is the first thing that we defined. So this is called as the conditional probability mass function. So analogously, we can talk about conditional density. So what is that? So x given y of xy. Okay, so if you remember, there is no idea that this is a, so I told you, right, the PDF doesn't have a meaning, as it's not the same thing as probability. So what you need to understand is, if you take a small delta, if you have to take a small delta x, delta y width, okay, and then understand with respect to that. So what I'm going to say is, this is, so if you take a small width dx, so x is the one which is variable, y is fixed to small y. So if you have to understand, if you have to understand this, you have to understand with a small width for a PDF. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is, if you look at the idea of a density, it doesn't, density f of x, so this is x, this is, sorry, this is x. Okay, so this point is f of x. So this strip is essentially f of x into delta. So this is the probability that your random variable lies in a small interval here. Because if you pick a point, the probability that the random variable takes that point is 0. Okay, so that is why we have to consider a small width. Now that we can write it as probability that, so we can write it as basically this dx dy divided by f of y dy. Okay, so this is what we have to understand, and that we know what it means. This means probability that x lies between x and x plus dx, given that y lies between small y and y plus dy. Okay, so that is what is the understanding. So whenever you look at a conditional probability density function, what you have to understand is you are talking about this object. Okay, intuitively speaking. So if you take the conditional probability density function and multiply it with a small width, which is dx, or maybe delta x, if you are not comfortable with this, if you want to say it's delta, you can take it as delta. So this is delta. It's a Greek letter. Okay, delta. So sometimes I may speak Greek letters without telling you how to read it, but yeah. So this is called as delta, and so basically what I'm saying in all this discussion is each of these objects, the probability mass function, probability density function, conditional probability mass function, conditional probability density function, has a proper meaning, and the meaning is this. So now, starting with this, now we can talk about. So now once we have a probability mass function, then we can extend the idea and talk about conditional expectation. So that is the next thing. So let's extend that idea. So suppose if you want to talk about conditional expectation and cumulative distribution function. So let's talk about first cumulative distribution function. Conditional CDF, that's what it is. So this is now going to be probability that x is less than x given y is equal to y, and if you want to compute this is going to be, yes, so this is a less than or equal to x. So this is x is the value that you want to get, and you will sum up all possible values of x less than x. I hope you remember this. So fx of x, okay, what was that? So you are going to sum all the values such that is less than or equal to x. So this was the usual cumulative distribution function. The same idea applies for even PDF. Okay, so this is, so sorry, this x is not there. This is the CDF, not the expectation. So this is going to be this. All right. So same way we can talk about the CDF for the continuous case. So whatever is the summation will become integration, remember? So this will be minus infinity to x, okay, f x given y of, let's say the variable of integration is x prime given y dx prime. All right, so same thing. If you are not happy with x prime, you can put a. So this can be fxy a given y dA. Anything will do. So this is the idea of CDF. And similarly, so this is again, I know this is all repetition, you may be getting a little bored, but it's good to once formally talk about this at least once. So now similarly, we can talk about expectation. Expectation of x given y is equal to small y. Okay, so this is going to be, again, you sum over all the x. Okay. So x dx given y of x comma y. All right. So same idea for the continuous case. Minus infinity to infinity. Basically, you integrate over all the possible values x can take. X So are there any questions? Yes. Is this all the three ideas that we discussed here? Is it clear? Can I have a quick poll just to see what is the sense of the class? Is everything clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot. So let's move on. So this is the case. So this is just the recap of all the definitions that are important here. So just for following Sheldon Ross a little bit more truly, let us look at some examples that Sheldon Ross gives for these cases. Okay, so the first thing that we will look at is an example of discrete case. So this is example 3.1. So this may change depending upon which book you are referring. So here they are going to give an example of how do you actually go and construct these objects. So given that x and y are two random variables, so pxy of xy is what we need to tell, right? So in order to specify a bunch of random variables, we need to specify the values of this. So that is given here. So pxy of 1, 1 is equal to 0.5. Pxy of 1, 2 is 0.1. Pxy of 2, 1 is equal to 0.1. And pxy of 2, 2 is equal to 0.3. Okay, Sheldon Ross, for example, does not write pxy, he writes simply as pxy, okay, without the capital X, capital Y. But since you have been following Sitsikalis's lectures, and Sitsikilis typically likes to put the random variables underneath the probability mass function, so I'm also following that, but I hope this shouldn't be a point of confusion. All right, so now when you look at a joint PMF, now you can see that this is all the points because it sums to 1. So 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, and this sums to 1. So this is all the support. This is called a support of a distribution. This is called as a support of a random variable. So these are, support is basically all those points which a random variable can take. Okay, so these are all the points which it can take. So the support of these random variables are these 4 points. All right, so now with respect to this, we can talk about things like this. Okay, so let's try to derive basically the conditional density of px given y. All right, so let's try to do that. So this is going to be px equal to 1 given y equal to 1. Okay, so this is nothing but px equal to 1, y equal to 1 divided by py equal to 1. All right, so now we have to now see what is py equal to 1. So y equal to 1 happens in this one and this one. So py equal to 1 is actually going to be sum of pxy of 1, 1 plus pxy of 2, 1, which is going to be 0.6. Okay, so now coming back over here, p1, 1 is 0.5. So this is going to be 0.5 divided by 0.6, which is going to be 5/6. Now we can also talk about pxy of 0, 1. Okay, so now this is easy. So x takes either value, 2, 1, x takes value. So x takes value always 1 or 2. So if I tell for 1, 1 given 1, probability of x given y of 1 given 1. So 2 given 1 should be easy, right? Because that is going to be 1 minus probability, this probability. I will write what I'm saying. This is equal to 1, probability that x is equal to 2 given y is equal to 1. Okay, so this is equal to 1 minus probability that x is equal to 1 given y equal to 1. Okay, so this is going to be 1 minus 5/6, which is going to be 1/6. Okay, so now if you look at, let's try to sketch this as this. So now we can also talk about px given y of 1 given 2. So similarly, you can define this as well. Okay, so this is probability that x is equal to 1 given y equal to 2. Okay, so this is probability of x equal to 1, y equal to 2 divided by probability of y equal to 2. So y equal to 2, if you see, over here, it's the sum of these two points. So it is 0.4. 0.4 divided by 0.1. And similarly, so Px given y of 2 is going to be 3 by 4. So like this, you can define the probability, conditional probability mass function. Okay. So likewise, you can also define the probability, the conditional expectation. You can define the conditional cumulative distribution functions and so on. Okay. So now if you, so let's, yeah, so this is good. So we can just stop on this. So now let us look at another example for the continuous case. So for the conditional continuous case, I'm talking about this example 3.5. Again, it may change depending upon the edition of the textbook. So let's consider the density fxy. So here I can put x comma y here if you want, but I hope, okay, let me put. So this is given by 6xy into 2 minus x minus y. All right. So this is for x between 0 and 1 and y between 0 and 1. All right. And 0 otherwise. So we are also going to be interested in computing some of these quantities. So let us say we want to compute fx given y. So basically the conditional probability density function. Suppose we wanted to do this. So again, we know what is the definition of this. This is going to be fxy of xy divided by fy of y. Okay. So now for fy of y, we can actually do the integration. So how do you find fy of y? Yes, somebody? How do you find fy of y?
Integration over all y.
Marginalized.
Yeah, integration over all x. Okay, integration over all x or marginalized
all x. All x.
Yeah, no problem. So this is going to be this. Okay, so 6xy into 2 minus x minus y dy. All right, so now he actually does this, and just for the simplicity, I will just take the final answer. So this is going to be y into 4 minus 3y. All right. So I'm not doing the integration, but I'm sure you all can manage it. So now coming back to this entity, so we are now ready to put in this value. So this is going to be 6xy into 2 minus x minus y divided by y into 4 minus 3y. So you can simplify this as 6x into 2 minus x minus y divided by 4 minus 3y. Okay. Now, depending upon what y you are interested, you can just simply plug in the value of y and you'll get an answer. So basically what we understand from this is that this one, x given y, is a function of y. Okay. I hope this idea is clear. Okay. So it depends on y also. Okay. So that's what I'm trying to say. So now let us do expectation of x given y. Expectation of x given y is equal to small y. So let's do that. So now we know how to do this. What we need to do is we have to do x into. So this is what we need to do, right? Okay. So this will be 0 to 1. So now we know this entire quantity is this. So now we can actually integrate this. This will be 0 to 1. 6x squared into 2 minus x minus y divided by 4 minus 3y dx. All right. So when we integrate this, again, I'm going to skip it. I'm just referring the textbook. So this is going to be 5 minus 4y divided by 8 minus 6y. So now you can see the point that I'm making. So expectation of x given y equal to y is a function of y. Okay, so is a function of y. You can think it as gy. All right, some gy. So this is true for both continuous as well as discrete case. Okay, so let me ask this to the class. So, is gy a constant?
It changes with the value of y.
Precisely. And is y precise? I mean, what I meant to say is y deterministic? So let me write this word. Is y deterministic?
0 to 1.
Yes. So deterministic means not random. Okay. So y takes a value between 0 and 1, but it is not deterministic. It is a value that is random, right? Does everybody see that? Since y is a random variable, it is a random value. Similarly, gy is also random. Therefore, gy is random. Okay, where g is any function of y. Okay. Also, what that means in particularly, it means expectation of x given y equal to y is a random quantity, is a random variable, right? Because gy is a random variable, expectation of x given y equal to y is also a random variable.
Sir, capital Y is a random variable, but small y is some value, deterministic value, right?
Yeah, but if I say, so let me just, good question actually. So expectation of x given y equal to y, if you see the example, that was 5 minus 4y divided by 8 minus 6y. So given a value of y, this is a fixed number. So suppose, let's say y equal to 1. So what do you get? This will be 5 minus 4 divided by 8 minus 6, which is going to be 1 over 2. Okay. Suppose y equal to 1, this is what it is. But if y is equal to 3, then it is, so if y is equal to 0.5, it will be some other value, right? But what is determining y? Who asked? Yeah, whoever asked me this question. So when y is 0.5, it will be some other value. But what is the way in which y's are appearing?
That is given by capital Y, so all the values that capital Y can take.
Yes. So that is why it is random. I hope this idea is clear. Did I answer your question?
Sure. Yes, sir.
Yeah, please ask. If it's still not clear, I can explain in a different way, try to make it clear. Okay, so that's good.
The idea that g of small y is a random variable and
Okay. So okay, let me give an example. So example, if you take, so let us say u is uniform. Okay. So what we say is y is equal to g of capital U. Okay, so let's say y is equal to log of capital U. Okay, so if I write with capital, you understand that it's a random variable. But I can also say for a given value of U, okay, what will be the value of y? Okay, so let me make it to make you comfortable. Let's say gy. Okay, then it's okay.
yes, sir.
Yeah, so basically here also it's the same thing. So what I'm trying to say, so if you look at expected conditional expectation of x given y, this is like g of y. Okay, because its value changes depending upon what value the small y takes.
Yes.
So for a particular value of y, I agree it is deterministic. It is 5 minus 4y by 6 minus 8 minus 6y. But if you don't keep a value for this capital Y, if you just leave it in terms of y, what you get, gy is equal to 5 minus 4y divided by 8 minus 6y. So this quantity, okay, this quantity is anyway random, right? This you understand?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay, good. Any other questions?
So wait, just to clarify, the small y variant and the big y variant, they are both random variables or just the one?
No, small y is like for a given value of y, what is the value? But we can replace the small y with a big Y, saying that we are not interested in putting a particular value. Just like if you look here in the above example, we didn't put a value for u. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Yeah.
this is iterated. Like,
Sorry?
this is this iterated or is this just one? Because this we have already done. Like,
Yeah, but I'm trying to repeat so that you get this idea clear. It's a very important concept, so that's why I'm like dwelling a little bit on it. Okay.
okay, sir. Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Yeah. So now we come to the iterated expectation idea, which Sitsiklis begins. Okay. So this is where we actually start. So this is actually section 3.4 in this one. So this is called as this is the central result, which is expected value of x is expected value of x given y. Okay, let me try to make some sense for you. So now we know that this inner thing is like g of y, right? We know that it's a function of y. So the outer first expectation is taking over y. All right. And the second expectation is just, so second expectation is basically x given y. This is over x given y. Okay, so this is the idea. So let us try to prove this result. All right, so that's what we will do. So let's do that. So RHS, so let's do it for continuous case, and you can do it analogously for discrete case. So expected value of x given y, expectation of expected value of x given y. It's a lot of things, but the idea is very simple. So what is this? I told the outer thing is over y. So let us write that. This is going to be expected value of x given y minus infinity to infinity. Yes, somebody, what should I write here? Somebody?
F of y.
Yes, very good. Fy of small y. Okay, so I'm integrating. This is an expectation over y because the inner function is a function of y. Okay, it's a random variable in y. So now we will expand this inner expectation. So this also we have seen what's the formula for this, right? So let me expand this. Okay, so this will be minus infinity to infinity. Okay, so fxy xy, so x into fxy xy dx. Okay, so this is the definition of this, right? We have seen this already up. So this is x into, so sorry, I not wrote it very legibly, but okay, so this is what it is. Now we can do further simplification. What we can do is we can write the expansion for this entity. So that is nothing but fxy of x comma y divided by fy of y into fy of y dy. So this and this gets cancelled. So what is left? What is this? What is the value? What is the thing that we are left with?
E of x.
Yes, that's what we are left with is. So there is a dx. I just missed it, but yeah. So we are left with e of x. Okay, so that's the proof. All right. So what we have shown is essentially this: expected value of x given y is expected value of x. Okay. So far so good. So. All right. So this is what is called as the iterated expectation, which Sitsiklis has in one of his lectures. So any questions up until this point?
Sir,
Yeah.
instead of y, were we not supposed to use GY?
Where?
Like
Here.
f of y, no, sorry, like fy of y instead of
Okay. Should I use gy of y, you're saying?
no, inside this, like instead of small y, should we not use a g of small y? Because y
What
is,
is g of small y? Where? Here in this.
yes sir.
Here? Yeah,
No,
correct.
not
You're
here,
right.
sir. The
Then
next one, fy of y. F in this right side, like the PDF of y equals a PDF of y on y, like you're taking a capital Y equal to small y.
capital Y equal to small y in where? Here.
Sir, in this minus infinity to
Okay.
infinity, ex
Yeah,
of
my
y, fy
ex.
y.
Yeah.
Instead of fy y, why not fy gy?
Capital F is what? It is a PDF, right? This is the PDF of y.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, let me explain. So what is the expected value of g of y? This is a different discussion. So you tell me what's the expected value of this. Tell me.
Sir, this is g of y into f of y.
dy, right?
Yes, sir.
So now I am also doing the same thing, right? So here, if you want, I will put a small y here. Okay. So I'm putting, basically this is the function. This is like your g of y. Okay. I'm taking wherever the y is coming, I'm replacing it with a small y.
Okay,
I done that,
yeah.
right? Y equal to small y, fy dy. That's all.
Yeah, yes.
What's
sir.
the confusion? It's okay, right?
Now I got it. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah. Any other questions? Ramnath, do you have a question?
No, sir.
Okay. All right. So that is what. So this is easy. I mean, don't get confused in the notation. The notation is confusing, but just look at it calmly. If you get confused, look at the simple version of it, like an example like this. Okay, then it will get clear. Okay, the idea is always the same, right? You are taking the like the center of gravity type of a problem. That's what you're solving. All right. So now coming to section 3.4, there are several interesting applications of this iterated expectation. So this has very interesting applications. So let us look at a few of them. Okay, so I will pick the ones which are kind of hard to understand. Okay, let's start with a simple one. Okay, so example, I'm going to start with a simple one first, and then we will look at a more complicated example. So look at example 3.9. So basically here there is a person, Sam. Okay, so he reads one chapter of his probability book. So either he reads probability, one chapter, or he reads one chapter or one chapter of history. Okay, so one of the two he is reading. Now the number of misprints in his probability book is Poisson. So this is misprints is Poisson with the rate given by 2. Okay, the lambda is 2, and in the history, the misprints is Poisson with the rate given by 5. Okay, so yeah, so and he chooses either the probability book or history book with probability half. Okay, so you understand the process, right? So Sam, in a given day, he will do a coin toss. Okay, if it comes as head, he will choose history book, or he will choose, if it comes as tails, he will choose probability book, something like that. All right. So and then you will look at the misprints. So let us fix some notations. So let X be the misprints. Okay. So X be the misprints. So now Y let y be basically two values, 1 or 2. So 1 means if Sam chooses history, and 2 if Sam chooses probability. Okay, so first question to the class, what is py of 1? Half. Okay. So what is py of 2? That is also half. Okay, so this is the first thing. Okay. Now expected value. So if x is Poisson with the rate lambda, so this is called as lambda. Okay, you write it by putting a line like this and then put this. So this is lambda. So if x is Poisson with rate lambda, expected value of x is lambda. Okay. So let me not say x because there is already x here. So let's say q. So expected value of q is lambda. So this is just a background for you. Okay. So now you can understand where I'm going next. What is the expected value of x given y is equal to 1? So what does this mean? So what does this mean? Can someone explain to me what this means?
That he has chosen history. Now, what is the how much misprints he'll encounter?
Yes, very good. So this is what it means. So given that he has chosen the history book, that is why it's y is equal to 1. That means he has chosen the history book. I'm looking at the expected value of misprints. So now we know that when he picks the history book, the misprints are Poisson with the rate 5. Okay. So what is the expected value here? Can someone tell me?
5.
Yes. So now similarly, can someone tell me what is the expected value of y equal to 2?
It's 2.
Yeah, so it's here, it's 2. So now finally, if I don't know which textbook he has picked, okay, so then I am interested to find out what is the expectation. What is it going to be? It's going to be essentially expected value of x given y, right? I don't know which textbook I am picking. Okay, I am looking at what is the expected value, that what is the general value for these two, because this is a variable, right? This quantity is variable. So it depends very strongly on what value of y we are taking. So basically we are doing this. Okay, so in order to write this, if you want, so this expectation is taken over y. That is the important point. Okay, so let's do that. So probability that y equal to 1 into expected value of x given y equal to 1 plus probability that y equal to 2 into expected value of x given y equal to 2. Okay, I hope this expansion is clear. Okay, so now we will apply the thing. So we have already computed. Somebody has a question?
Can you repeat? Yes. Can you repeat this? How it comes?
Okay, so when we look at some expected value of g of y, right? So how do we do this? Tell me. Yes, don't worry. Tell me whatever you think. What it will be?
That will be the summation over
Py of y into gy,
y.
right? So small y. Yeah, y. You are taking small y. So now, what are the values of small y? Tell me.
1 and 2.
Okay, so that is why I'm taking 1 and 2, and I'm putting for, so this will be py of 1. Okay, this will be py of 2. Is it clear?
Yes.
It's important that you ask these questions, because you know I might be very fast, I maybe not be explaining. So anyone who has any question at any point, please ask. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So this will be half into what is that, 5 plus half into 2. So this will be 5 over 2 or 7 over 2 or 3.5. Okay, so this is the expected value of x. Is this clear? Let me just do a quick poll in the class. Can I have some, if it's clear, please say it's clear or yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you. All right. So this is an important concept. That's why I'm spending so much time here. All right. So very good. So moving on. So this is how we use this idea of iterated expectation, or this formula basically. I think as many times you want, you can write this. Okay. So this was a kind of a easy problem, but let's do one more. Let's do one more problem, which is again kind of simple, but before we move to more complicated things, let's look at a few simple examples first. So example 3.10. Okay, so this is yeah. So basically, this is called as a compound random variable. So this is called as a compound random variable. You will understand soon why it is called as compound random variable, but let's go to the problem itself. So I need to make some space. Okay, so the problem talks about an industrial plant. Okay, so the number of accidents okay, is a random variable. Okay, number of accidents in a plant, in an industrial plant, is a random variable n. Okay, and expected value of n is let me just see what it says. Suppose the expected number is 4. Okay, so this is 4. What happened? Yeah, so this is equal to 4. Okay, now, so number of workers injured in an accident. Okay, so whenever accident happens, worker may or may not be injured, but if the workers are injured in an accident, we call it as X. Okay, so this is expected value of X is equal to, let us see, with a mean of 2. Okay, independent. Okay, and furthermore, n and x are independent. Okay, let me explain what it means to say n and x are independent. So what this is saying is, like, if the number of accidents are 10, that doesn't mean that each accident, how many people are injured, will be higher or lower. Okay, so if there are no accidents, there will be no injuries. That is not what we are saying. Suppose there is an accident. If the number of accidents is 10, workers injured at each accident will be independent. It does not depend on the value 10. If the number of accident is 1, the number of workers injured per accident, that does not depend on the fact that n took a value equal to 1. Okay, I hope this idea is clear, right? The independence of n and x is clear. Okay, so now, so basically, if you look at total total injuries, okay, depends upon n. Okay, so what it means is you will have to take I equal to 1 to n. So here n is a random variable, right? And you look at each accident, how many workers were injured. So that is xi. Okay, so total injuries is going to be something like this. So this is a compound random variable because this is random. So there are two random variables which are coming together in this example. So I will just pause if there are any questions from the class. So let me just repeat once again. So basically there is an industrial plant. Okay, so the number of accidents is a random quantity in the industrial plant. The expected value of number of accidents is 4. Okay, now if you look at number of workers injured in an accident. Okay, so there are 4 accidents which are, like, on an average there are 4 accidents, and in each of these accidents on an average there are 2 workers injured. But the n and x are independent, which means to say, if I look at like if n is higher, that doesn't mean that each time in each of those accidents, the number of workers will be higher or lower. Okay. That is what it means when we say n and x are independent. Of course, if n is 0, then there is no question of any accidents, but that is not the idea here. All right. Okay. So the question is asking you to find out the expected value of this compound accident, expected value of this compound random variable. Okay. So this is the point. So now we know how to do this. So this is going to be expected value. So what we will do is we will condition on n, expected value of I equal to 1 to n, okay, xi given n. Okay, so question to the class, what is this function of?
N.
Yes, this is a function of n. Okay, it depends. So it depends. I mean, that's a function of n. All right. So let's now try to evaluate this. Okay. So whenever I'm saying, if you say gy, okay, it's a function of y, right? But I need to tell what is the value of gy for all y, right? That is what we have to do to really analyze it. We have to do this. So for in the same spirit, let us try to evaluate what is the expected value of I equal to 1 to n xi given n is equal to small n. Okay, I'm trying to basically understand how this function behaves for every value of n. Okay, so now when n is equal to n, one immediate thing we can do is replace this capital N with small n. Okay. I hope this step is clear. Now we are saying that n, okay, this n has no impact on xi. Okay, so that means this is not adding any value. Okay, n equal to taking the value n has no impact. So this is as though we are doing I equal to 1 to small n of xi. Is this idea clear? How we got from here to here? Yes, anybody? Any questions here? All right. So now we know that xis, each time there is an accident, if I didn't mention, so 2 accidents, I didn't mention when I told, but 2 accidents are independent. Each accident is independent. So the number of workers injured in each accident is independent. So when I'm trying to evaluate this, what does it turn out to be? So each accident I'm saying is independent. Okay. So each xi is independent and it's identical. So what it is going to be?
N times the expected value.
N
of-
xi.
Yeah. So this is a number. What is this equal to?
4 into
Yeah, 4n. This is going to be 4n, but let's not write that. Okay, because if you see, sorry, 2n. Expected value of x is 2. Okay, so let's not write that, but you will see later why that is useful. Okay, so now we have got this. So as a function of n, I have got the value. Okay, so now we can take its expectation. So expected value of summation I equal to 1 to n xi given n. This we can do. Okay, this is going to be expected value of n ex. Okay. Now ex is a number, so we can pull it out. So this will be ex. This is capital N, right? Because as a random variable, it's capital N. Particular value is small n, but as a random variable, it's capital N. So it is ex into En. So basically the expected number of the compound accident, right, I to 1 to n xi is going to be this. Okay, so is this clear? Everybody follows this example? Any questions here? Can I see, again, can I have a quick poll if everything is clear? Sanjay, you have a question? Okay, is everything clear? Okay, thanks. So that's good to know. I hope for everyone else also it's like this. Okay, good. So now let us do a slightly more complicated example, but I don't think we have time. Okay, so I don't want to start something which is complicated and stop halfway through. So let's just quickly recap what we have been studying in this lecture. Okay, so we began with a recap of what is the meaning of conditional probability, what is the meaning of conditional expectation, what is the meaning of cumulative, conditional cumulative distribution function. All these things we had a recap. Okay, these are all things that you have already studied. Okay, so after that, what we observed is that the first important observation that we made is that expected value. So this entity, right? Expected value of x given y. Okay, where y, I'm not telling the particular value of y, but in general y, that behaves like a function of y. It is like gy. Okay, so you can take its expectation, and when you take its expectation, you are going to get basically expected value of x itself. So this was the iterated expectation formula. Okay, and what we saw is that it has we saw its proof. We also saw that it has some very simple idea that this is what it is. So this is this is also a compound random variable. Why is compound? There are two random variables that are interacting together to give you the number of misprints. This example, right, was also a compound random variable. So we understood how to use it for using two examples. So that's what we have done in this class. So tomorrow we will look at a few more examples and we will look at a few more results around this. Maybe I might have to make one small half-an-hour video to explain some more examples. But whatever it is, all the discussions that we are having today is from chapter 3. Okay, so that is from Sheldon Ross. Okay, so this is all that I have time for today. So let me know if you have any questions. If there are no questions, then we can stop here. All right, so let's stop here. So thank you everybody, and have a good quiz tomorrow. So for the quiz, just see all the lectures apart from this Poisson process and Bernoulli process, all the lectures that I have covered after midterm. Okay, so just understand it. It's going to be a simple quiz. You're not going to have too much trouble. Just see all these things that we have discussed, right? And just see if you follow everything. That should be good enough. All right, so let me stop here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.